Hello, this is Marcus here from EV Journey. Now, today we're going to check the degradation of my ID.3 and I'm going to try something to see if we can reverse the degradation of these batteries by balancing the batteries. That's right, by balancing the batteries. So just to let you know, I've had the car 14 months and I've never charged it to 100%. And currently the car has done nearly 20,000 kilometers. Now, what is this balancing the batteries, I hear you say? So I have 3 glasses of tea here. As you can see, they're very full. But let's imagine this isn't tea. Let's imagine these are 3 battery cells. We've got battery cell 1, battery cell 2, battery cell 3. So as you can see, the glasses are full of tea. That is their total capacities. Their total capacity is up to there. So that's how much they can store. I've drawn this line here, which you probably can't see very well because it's almost the same colour as the tea. And that's 80% of the battery. So what I do in my Volkswagen ID.3, I keep charging it to 80% to here, 80% to here, and 80% to here, because that's what Volkswagen recommends. So let's first talk about battery degradation. So what is battery degradation? So let's imagine these are lithium cells, not T cells. And what happens over time for battery degradation is that some of the lithium forms crystals. So let's use sugar as our crystals. Let's see here, let's add some sugar in here. More sugar, and this is our crystals forming at the bottom, you see. We've got less capacity in our battery cell because part of it here is crystals and we can't store energy inside the crystals. So that's battery degradation. And this happens to all lithium ion batteries over time. So we can put some in here, and we can put some in here to have some very sweet tea here. So what is balancing? So this is total capacity here as the batteries. As you can see, they've all got total capacity and they've got a bit less because of degradation. What happens over time is the total capacity in some of the cells becomes lower. Let's look at this one, for example, drinking sweet tea. What happens is this one's gone down a bit, nice sweet tea, and let's do this one here. As you can see here, this one still contains its full capacity, and this one here contains less than its full capacity, and this one here contains less than its full capacity. Obviously, this one here doesn't contain all of its full capacity because it's got some crystallization. So this happens over time, especially when you're only charging the car to 80%. So we keep charging the car to 80% here, and we keep charging the car to 80% here. And this is what happens over time. So this is where balancing the batteries comes into play. So what happens when we balance the batteries? The idea is that when we balance the batteries, is that if we charge it above 80%, if we charge it here to 100%, hopefully it should be able to recuperate this lost capacity, which is here and here. What will happen when we charge to 100%? So this here will get charged to 100%, this battery cell, and this one here will also get charged to 100%. And when it gets here, it starts to see the capacity is a bit lower than what it should do. So it starts to add the capacity again by balancing the batteries, and it will bring this one up to 100%, and then it will bring this one as well back up to 100%. So you can only do this when you charge to 100%. So you're bringing all the capacities back to the same level as you see here. Now that's the idea, and apparently that's the way it works in the Hyundai or Kia cars that has the same battery tech. I've no idea if it does this in the Volkswagen ID.3, but we will see. Let's have a look at the degradation in this car, because I've really tried to look after the batteries. This is my own car, so I've done everything recommended by Volkswagen to look at the batteries. Let's see what the degradation is. So I've got an app here called Car Scanner, which will tell me how many kilowatt hours we have left. So we go to all sensors here. Okay, let's connect. We connect. So it's telling us the maximum energy content of the traction battery is 53,600. So that's almost 54 kilowatt hours. Now the car should be showing 58,000, which would be 58 kilowatt hours. So there's definitely been some degradation. Let's see what it says. It's saying the battery aging by capacity is 91%, but I think it's a bit, so that would mean degradation is 9%, but I actually think it's a bit lower than that. And the battery temperature is currently 18 degrees, not too bad. 18.5 is the highest. So we're going to put it on charge. The car's currently at 57%. So we're going to charge to 100%. Let's put that up there to 100%. And we're going to put the car on charge. And then by the time we come back, the outside temperature should be around 16 degrees. And then we will do some range test at 120 kilometers an hour and see if we can improve on this figure of 53,600. The car scanner app is claiming 9% degradation. Now, I've worked it out from the 53,600 watt hours, and I've worked out the degradation from 58,000 watt hours, which is 58 kilowatt hours, to be 7.5%. So perhaps the app knows something I don't know, but 7.5% to me is too much for a car that is only 14 months old. Even 9% is too much. I was expecting it to be around 5%. This is the first time in 14 months, and we're basically nearly at 20,000 kilometers. That I'm going to charge the car to 100%. Perhaps I'm a bit crazy, I don't know, perhaps I should have done this before. So the car's currently charging, it's at 57%. It says it's going to take 2 hours and 10 minutes. So we'll be back here at 12:30. At 12:30 it should be around 16 degrees Celsius to do our 120 kilometer hour range test. When we get to 100%, let's see if we have got less degradation. Let's see if balancing the battery actually works. The moment of truth. I've just come back from the car and it's just finished charging. 100% for the first time ever. Let's go and see. There we have it, the car at 100%. That's right, the car's at 100%. 100%, it's saying we've got 370 kilometers of range. Now let's look in this app again, car scanner. So there we go, it's connected. Before we give you the results, please remember to click subscribe on this channel. Because we're trying to get up to 1 million people. So let's just check stats here. Are they coming through yet? Maximum energy of the traction battery is exactly 53,600. Exactly the same as before. And the energy content is saying it's only 50,000. Whatever that means. So I've only got 50 kilowatts in the car. So balancing the batteries here hasn't made a single bit of difference, which is very disappointing. No, so it's saying battery aging by capacity is 91%. That's what it's reporting. So that's very disappointing result. We're going to do a motorway test now, range test, just to see if it. But I'm very disappointed, to be honest. Let's get going. So let's go on our 120 kilometer an hour range test. So I've put the car into eco mode, and one of the reasons I'm doing this is because today it's a beautiful weather. There's hardly any winds, even by the sea here. I don't know if you can see that over there. The flags are hardly waving. The battery temperature must be good at the moment, and I'm going to make sure air conditioning is off because it's quite warm in here. I actually took my jumper off, it's so warm. One of the reasons is people keep claiming they can do 350 kilometers of range in a 58 kilowatt hour ID.3. I've never been able to get such range. Normally, out of a battery from 100% to a zero, I'm looking about 275 kilometers in good weather conditions. Now, I'm not saying these people are lying, I do believe them. I don't know how they're doing it, is all I'm saying, because I've done many long trips in this car, 120 kilometers an hour, and I've never been able to manage it. So now we've got the battery for the first time ever at 100%, even though it does seem to have a big degradation of between 9% or 7.5, depending on who you trust. We're going to now drive 200 kilometers, and we're going to work out how much range that will give us going at motorway speed. Now, obviously, we have to drive a little bit through town because we've just come from the charger, and that's what we're doing now. So we're just coming up to the motorway now. We've done 2 kilometers through town, so it's been slow driving, and it's saying we're 20 kilowatt hours per 100, but I think that's because there's a bit of faffing up around. So we're on eco mode. We're just about to come onto the motorway. As soon as we get to 120, then I'm going to reset the counters, and the battery is still at 100%. Now we're going to drive at 120 kilometers an hour according to the ID.3, not according to GPS speed, because it seems to me everybody else who's doing 120 kilometer hour test seems to be using the ID.3 kilometers per hour and not GPS. So that's what we're doing. Now we're resetting it because we got to 120 and we've reset it. So yeah, so as you can see, a beautiful day. It's saying 18 degrees outside because I've been sat in the sun now, so I think that's about right. And there's hardly any wind whatsoever. We're going to do 100 kilometers there, 100 kilometers back, about around 200 kilometers, so we can work out in a 14-month-old ID.3 what the range is at 120 kilometers an hour. Damn hot in this car. I've turned air conditioning off, but I've just put the blowers on, so I'm just getting a breeze through the blowers. I don't think this is going to affect consumption whatsoever, as it's 18 degrees outside, but it's very hot in here. This has been in the sun all morning charging. Let's talk a little bit about this degradation. So when we get back, I'm going to look again in the app to see if it's the same as when we left. That is, for me, after 14 months of the car, this is extremely disappointing. I was expecting around 5% degradation, and this is higher than what I was expecting. I mean, I've done everything Volkswagen has told me to do to keep the batteries in tip-top condition, and I believe that their BMS was good software that would stop such degradation. But I don't know. Let's see, hopefully it will stay at this. Hopefully it won't get any worse, the degradation, over the next couple of years. Hopefully it won't go below 10%. If it starts to go below 10%, then I'm going to be very disappointed. In the day-to-day, it's not really affecting me. I don't really notice it. And I think that's because it dropped quite quickly within the first 2 or 3 months of me having the car. So to be honest, I don't really notice it in the day-to-day. You know, if I could rewind the car back 1 year and take it out on the first trip, then it'd probably do a bit better. But as degradation drops so quickly, I haven't really noticed it, so it hasn't really affected my day-to-day driving of the car. I think it's still a great car for long trips, etc. But it is higher than what I was expecting, so it is a huge disappointment. Particularly considering I've done so much to protect the battery of the car. Now, I've looked at other people on the internet and on YouTube, etc., and they're getting around the same results. But many of those people have said they always charge their car to 100%, they're on fast chargers a lot, etc., and they don't really take care of the battery. So I'm disappointed that someone who, you know, I'm disappointed that I have taken care of the battery, and it seems to have made absolutely no bit of difference. I don't really know what to say, really. Perhaps if I hadn't have taken care of the battery, charged the car 100% more often, etc., it would have been exactly the same. So I honestly don't really know what to say. So let's see if I can get to these 350 kilometers. I don't think so. But anyway, so let's see. So it may be that the other people who are doing this test have got a lot more traffic, because I chose this route today because really there's hardly any traffic, so we can keep 220 kilometers an hour. Now, we have gone through a toll booth that slowed us down a bit, but we've just done 50 kilometers. So let's have a look here. At 50 kilometers, we're at 81% of the battery, which means we used around 19% of the battery to do 50 kilometers. And that's keeping with my average estimate on the motorway. That always seems to work around 25 kilometers per 10% of the battery. Now, the consumption now is at 20.1 kilowatt hours per 100, and that's what I expected. But we did start at sea level, and we have been going up slightly, not big hills, but we've definitely been going up. So perhaps on the way back, we'll be going down a bit, and the consumption figures will be better. And our average speed is 110 kilometers per hour. We're looking at a range for around 275 kilometers. That's what I expect in this car, and normally you can do it. Still, absolutely fantastic driving conditions. Now, I've said it before, and I'll leave a link below. I don't believe in these range tests. I think they're a really bad way to show if it's a good EV or bad EV, because nobody drives from 100% to 0%. I think a better rating is to do it by timer. But anyway, I'm doing this because of degradation, and when we get back, I'm going to test the degradation again to see if some miracle has happened and it's improved, or something bad has happened and it's got even worse. We're coming up to the 100 kilometer mark now, and we have done exactly 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and we're keeping to 120 kilometers an hour, which is around 75 miles per hour. And as you can see, the road is clear, so our average speed is massive, 114 kilometers per hour, which is quite high. Let's look at the battery then for 100 kilometers. So the battery is at 61%, so we've done 39% for around 100 kilometers, which is about right, 25 kilometers per 10% of the battery. So as I'm saying, this car is perfectly able to do 250 kilometers
of range with 100% of the battery at these speeds, and I think even a bit more. I think on the way back the consumption is going to be a bit lower. And again, these are perfect conditions, 18 degrees Celsius, there's no wind, we started with a warm battery, it's in eco mode. Now we're coming to the turnaround point now, so I'm going to concentrate because I'm not quite sure how to turn around here. So we're going to be going a bit slower now so that we can turn around and come back the other way. So we're keeping to 90 kilometers an hour along here. This is a bigger turnaround point than I expected. Probably not the best choice for turnaround point, to be honest. It's a bit of a mistake. But anyway. So we've gone up back to 120 kilometers an hour. Let's have a look at the stats, shall we? It's 57% of the battery, just have more than enough to get home. So basically the stats are the average speed has gone down as expected, 109 kilometers an hour because of this long diversion, or because of this long turnaround point. We've done 113 kilometers and we're still at 19.5 kilowatt hours, and hopefully we should have more than enough to get home because we've got 57% of battery left. Let's see if the consumption goes down a bit now, because hopefully we should be going downhill because we've done a lot of uphills. So we've just used 50% of the battery. So 50% of the battery has given us a range of 132 kilometers. So I'm saying the range will be around 264 kilometers. As I said, around 275 mark. Definitely a car that can always do 250 kilometers on the motorway in Portugal. One thing about this test, we are going one way and going back the other way. It's not just going one way where we've got the wind behind us or anything. This is a proper test, but as you can see today, there's not too much wind. Our consumption has gone down a little bit to 19.3 kilowatt hours per 100. So I think now we're slightly going downhill because we started at sea level. So we're just coming up to the 200 kilometer mark. That's correct. And our average consumption has gone down because I think we're going downhill slightly. So it's 18.8 kilowatt hours, which is what I'd expect at 120 kilometers an hour. Average speed has gone up slightly to 112 kilometers per hour, and we've done exactly 200 kilometers. So yeah, everything's going well. What's the battery? Yes, what's the battery 2 kilometers? The battery is at 25%, which means we use 75% for 200 kilometers. Now at 25 kilometers per 10%, we should be at 20% of the battery, so we're getting a bit better consumption than 25 kilometers per 10%. That's what I'm expecting, so I expect we'll do a bit better than 250 kilometers. But we're going to be nowhere near 300 kilometers, and the GOM is saying we've got 84 kilometers left, so 200 kilometers plus 84, that would give us 284 kilometers of range. But my feeling is probably a bit less. But definitely over 250. So we don't have far to go now, just 18 kilometers. And when we get there, we'll see what the final results are. So we're at 215 kilometers. We're just about to turn off now, and the battery is at 20%. So 215 kilometers, and it's taken us 80% of the battery. The GOM is saying we've got 74 kilometers left, so that's given us a range, the GOM plus 215 kilometers, of 289 kilometers. We're going to crunch the numbers and see the actual kilometers. So 20% with 215, and we're going to go and charge the car and check the battery to see if anything's changed on deprecation. So here we are back at the charger. Let's check the app again to see if it's the same. So before it was 53.6 kilowatts. Let's see if it's still the same, 53.6 kilowatt hours. See if it's gone up or down, degradation. So here it's telling us 53,600 watt hours, the maximum energy content of the traction battery, and currently we've got 11 kilowatt hours of energy content. But interestingly, when we left, it said we had 50 kilowatt hours, when here it's saying 53. So does this include the buffer as well? Which would be very bad, because the car should actually have 62 kilowatt hours gross and 58 usable. So I thought this was against the usable. So that's probably why the battery is saying 91%, because we have to do it against 62 kilowatt hours, not the 52 kilowatt, not the 58 kilowatt hours. So that basically means it is 9%, as we said here. Now, it hasn't made a big difference to my journey. It hasn't made a big difference to me, but 9% over just a year is too much, I think. Hopefully it won't change from that, but I think that's a bit too much, considering this is meant to have a battery management system, and that's 9% from the 62 kilowatt hours of the battery. So that's why we were only getting 50 kilowatt hours into the battery, not the actual 53, because that 53 includes the buffer. So that's bad. But anyway, let's work out what's the range of this car at 120 kilometers an hour in these beautiful conditions. So I've just worked out the range. Remember, at the motorway we had 215 kilometers and we had 20% of the battery left. That means that we've got a range of 269 kilometers at 120 kilometers an hour, which is what I was expecting, somewhere between 250 and 275 kilometers. Definitely in this car in Portugal, you can definitely guarantee 250 kilometers, and generally a little bit more at those speeds. I don't know how people get over 300 kilometers in this car going at motorway speed. I've just never seen it after having this car for more than a year. But as I said, I don't think range is the most important, and getting over 250 kilometers easily is very good in this car. Thank you again for watching. Please leave your comments below. Please tell me what you think about the battery of the ID.3. I don't think it's a big issue as long as it doesn't keep dropping. As long as it stays around this 9%, it's okay. But if it was to drop any further, then I think it would start being an issue. And please don't forget to click subscribe, and thank you, and bye.